Let me give you one example. This is the picture we are very familiar with. Nowadays, each one of us are engaged in online classes, whether it is through mobile or with computer or with desktop or personal computers or laptop. But this is a very common scenario. Each one of us is now facing, or each one of us have experienced this kind of scenario, that using headphone or sitting in front of computer or sitting in front of mobile phones, smart mobile phone is very common. Now this picture itself is sufficient to illustrate what exactly is the globalization. This is a very common phenomena happening in each one of us, with each one of us, and in everybody's house, in our, and around our neighborhood. We are witnessing this scenario, and if I call this is a very globalized environment, how? Just take an example. This table, the table might be made in Bangladesh because Bangladesh is exporting a lot of wooden products. So this table on which this computer is placed is made in Bangladesh. On the computer screen, some anti-China lecture is going on. The computer itself might be made from South Korea. The lecture is being attended by an Indian student. The headphone that Indian student is using is made in Taiwan. The processor which is being used in this computer is made in USA, might be Intel or some other companies who have manufactured the processor, that microchips of this computer, they are US based companies. The professor who is teaching might be from USA or UK or Singapore. So just see, very common phenomena, very common thing which we are witnessing in our locality or in our home, or we are experiencing ourselves. This itself is a very globalized environment. This is just if you can add something more, like the garment that this lady is wearing, it might be exported from Japan or might be from Singapore, or the content of the lecture might be from Malaysia or something else. So, or this the technology that they are using for this online platform, this WebEx, it might be from Singapore or might be from Taiwan or some other countries or Japan. So this is a very globalized environment. Now, having given the background of this globalization, let us discuss about globalization. So globalization per se is simply when, in the context of business, in the context of some other things, globalization will be different. Now everything like our political system is also globalized, our economic systems are globalized, even our relationships are globalized. One husband sitting in America and wife sitting in India, and their sons and daughters are in Canada and Malaysia. So that entire family is also globalized. But in the context of business, what is a globalization? So simply, in one word, if we have to define global business, means doing business in more than one country. Means your business will not be restricted only to your domestic territory of the country. It will be across the domestic territory, and that is actually globalization. In simplest form of globalization is the exporting, one company producing some product in one country, exporting to more than one country. Like one Indian company producing a product in India and selling it like in Canada, UK, Japan, USA. That is in the simplest form of globalization. Next generation of globalization is that one Indian company having established its place of manufacturing in other country, like it is also having its factory in UK, it is producing in UK and selling in UK, producing in USA, selling its and marketing in USA. producing in Canada, marketing in Canada. So one Indian company producing in different countries and selling in different countries, or one Indian company or one US company for that matter, uh, having its collaboration in different countries and selling and marketing and operating in all the different countries with the different collaborators. For example, Suzuki in India, it is collaborating with Maruti, or Suzuki in India, it is collaborating with TVS for the two-wheelers, and it is operating in India. In some other countries, it will be collaborating with some other countries. In some other countries, it will be collaborating with some other countries. Kawasaki, a South Korean company, it is collaborating with Bajaj. It had a collaboration, not now. Kawasaki had a collaboration with Bajaj operating in India. When it is a matter of South Africa, it will be collaborating with some South African company. When it comes a question of capturing the market of Britain, so it will be collaborating with some British company, and ultimately they will have their global presence. But some companies, they do not collaborate, they simply establish their place of operation in different countries, and they operate independently with their own brand name. Example, Pepsi. Pepsi in India, it will be having its own set of operations, own set of facilities, and it will be marketing and producing and doing everything in the name of Pepsi only. In USA also it is Pepsi, in Britain also it is Pepsi, in Canada also it is Pepsi, and so is the case of Coca-Cola. So there are different models of globalization. Sometimes the companies, they manufacture in one country, sell across the geographic territory of their own country. That is also one kind of globalization. Some companies, they just keep on collaborating with the different companies. That is also one form of globalization. Some companies, they establish their place of business in different countries. That is also one form of globalization. And most importantly, and the recent form of globalization is like some companies, they specialized with some technology, and they do not participate in the business of other countries, other companies. Rather, they will be simply providing them their technology, and for that they will be charging a royalty. And getting royalty is also one form of globalization. Okay. Now, having said all this, having given you a background of this globalization, now let us start the discussion. Why companies go global? Why they go for doing business other than their own domestic territory? And the reason is very simple. East India Company, they came to India, and that was also a kind of globalization. East India Company, they came to India. Why they came to India? The reasons were just three. Number one, to have a greater market, because their market was earlier, prior to coming to India, prior to the 16th century, their market was only within Europe. Now they have saturated that entire market. The entire market was saturated. So they need some new market, some new set of customers. So in search of new customers, they came to India. They wanted to expand their business, and that's why in search of a new territory to market their product, they came to Asia, and ultimately they came to India. This is one reason. Second, they came to India for resource acquisition, because India was known for its vast resources, its spices, its agricultural products, its minerals. So India was known for its resources, so they came to India for resource acquisition. And third, they came to India to have a diversification in their business. Now, what is diversification? One simplest saying in respect of diversification is that don't put all your eggs in a single basket. So if they would have operated only in Europe, then their market was very much restricted, and if something happens to the European market, their entire business would have been lost. Now, once they have shifted a part of their business from Europe to Asia, so there is a diversification. Like all of a sudden, like entire world cannot be collapsed. Something good will happen to Asia and something bad will happen to Europe, or vice versa. So this will keep on, and ultimately they have something to survive, and that's why they came to India. That is for diversification. So the first question is that why businesses go global? So the answer is very simple, that exploring the untapped and new market. As I told you, that they want to explore and untap the new market, whether it is a case of East India Company, or it is a case of Coca-Cola, or Pepsi, or Infosys, or Microsoft, or Wipro, or Google, or Facebook. Ultimately they go beyond their domestic territory for one reason, and the most important reason is to untap the new market, because their own market, the market in their domestic territory, is very much saturated. So they want to expand their business, and that's why they have to go global. Next, resource acquisition. They wanted to have control, better control over the resources, because for doing business you need to have a control over the resources, and that's why for resource acquisition they go to acquire new domestic territories. And for third one is the diversification. As I already stated, the diversification, to diversify their business they go global. Now, when we have understood the context of global environment, or the region for international business environment, then there are certain things which we need to know. That one is the nature of international business environment, how this international business environment is, and its nature is different than that of domestic environment. So first thing is that an international business environment, they need accurate information. Now you must be saying that this accurate information is required in domestic business environment as well. If we are doing business within India, or within our state, or within our locality, within the district, then also we need information. But my dear friend, the extent of accuracy in international business environment is very high, because if we are doing business within our domestic territory, then we have lot of options to fall back, that okay, and we have many more options and many more avenues. If the information is not correct, then we can go for some other avenues, or we can exercise some other options. But in case of international business environment, we do not have that much of the control, and that's why before entering into any international market, we need a very accurate information about the market. We need very accurate information about the geography of that particular place, the environment of that particular place, the culture, the laws, the currency, accounting system. Lot of complexities are there, and that's why we need accurate information in respect of each and every aspect. Bata is very popular shoe manufacturer, and when it has to enter European market, they actually have gone for a very detailed market survey. And once they have done that market survey, and when they acquired this the information international the information related to the European market, and after acquiring that information only, they entered into the European market, because the European laws are different, totally different than that of Indian laws. The European culture is different, European currency is different, European test and preferences are different, and that's why they need accurate information with respect to the preferences, with respect to shoe, the test with reference to shoe, the laws and culture, everything. And once they have acquired all those informations, then only they have entered a new European country. And more than the accurate information, they need timely information. Information is okay, we can get information not now, maybe after 1 year, but If the information is not received in time, then we are ultimately totally lost in an international business environment. And we do not have too much of the control. As I told you, that we do not have control over the pipeline of supply of information. And that's why getting timely information is also a big challenge. When in 1991, Indian economy was liberalized. Indian economy, the liberalization, or especially in the context of Indian economy, it is called LPG process. And LPG policy was started in the year 1991 when our Prime Minister PV Narasimha Rao, he has declared that India will now be going to the path of economic reforms. And in economic reforms, one thing is that liberalization, privatization, and globalization. And now what is this? Like liberalization is now there will be very restricted role of government in business. There will not be much need for the licenses to do business, so license will be done away. And next one is a P stands for private. P stands for privatization, that not only government players but the private players will also be allowed to operate and to do their businesses in some of the areas which were earlier reserved for the public sector. And the third one is the globalization, that now Indian business environment will not be only restricted for the Indian companies. Rather, the foreign players were also allowed to enter into Indian market and to operate in Indian market. And when this information was released, then Pepsi was the first one to came to India. Pepsi, it's a global soft drink brand, and it came to India. It started its operations, it started its production, and it have captured a significant part of the Indian market. Coca-Cola did not acted timely. Pepsi came in the year 1991, and Coca-Cola have decided to enter into Indian market 1.5 years later. So that is the timely information. They did not take the decision in time, and when the Coca-Cola company, they have decided to enter into Indian market, they have seen that most of the market has already been taken by Pepsi. And in this situation, it would have been very tough for the Coca-Cola to enter into Indian market, because the market is already taken away by the Pepsi, and now Coca-Cola was finding it very difficult to enter into Indian market. And now it is already late, and now when Coca-Cola have decided, then it has to set up its factories, it has to set up its plant, and after it will also take some time, and then only they can start their products, and then they have to build the complete supply chain of their distributors network and stockist and everything. So what Coca-Cola did in hurry, that instead of building their own production system or production setup, they have bought the existing production factories, the existing factories of Thumbs Up. Once upon a time it was their own setup, I will just tell you later. But so they immediately they have purchased the factories of the soft drinks which were already been marketed in India, that is Thumbs Up, Gold Sport, and Limca. They were very popular soft drinks in India. So instead of starting their own operations, they purchased the factories of these brands, Thumbs Up, Limca, and Gold Spot, and ultimately they started producing Coca-Cola in the same factory, and maintaining the brand of also producing the brands like Thumbs Up and Limca and Gold Spot and Sprite simultaneously. So this is how, because Coca-Cola did not taken the decision in time, because they have not got the information in time, so they have to spend too much of the amount in acquiring the already established products and system, and Pepsi have taken that timely decision, and that's why Pepsi at that time it was much ahead of the Coca-Cola in terms of market share in India. So this is the relevance of timely information in the context of international business environment. Next, International business environment is characterized by the feature of large size. Size is always voluminous. Like you cannot think of entering into international business environment with a small size, because once you are thinking to go global, definitely you should behave like, or you should play like a big brother, and that then only you can think of going for an international, acquiring international market. So the size is very large. Geographic market segmentation. In international business environment, the segmentation is always geographic. Like you must have seen the presentation of some of the companies in, might be in some popular TV shows or in cinema, that they normally segment their business in terms of geography. कि मल्होत्रा बताओ हमारे साउथ अफ्रीका से कितना प्रॉफिट हुआ, इंडिया से कितना प्रॉफिट हुआ, यूरोपियन मार्केट से कितना प्रॉफिट हुआ, ऑस्ट्रेलिया से कितना प्रॉफिट हुआ, अमेरिका से कितना हुआ, कनाडा से कितना हुआ. सो अल्टीमेटली दे गो फॉर ज्योग्राफिक मार्केट सेगमेंटेशन, एंड फॉर ईच एंड एवरी ज्योग्राफी their strategy is different, their setup is different. So that's how they go for doing this international business, because they segmentize the market geographically, and the geographic segmentation is different. For example, Hindustan Unilever Limited. So with the name it seems that it is an Indian company, but Hindustan Unilever Limited is actually a subsidiary company of Unilever Limited, only Unilever Limited, and Unilever is a 50% British and 50% Dutch company, meaning thereby it is 100% a foreign company. But when it has to start its business in India, it knows that Indian people are very sentimental, and if the word Hindustan is attached to their name, then people will be thinking it as their own company, and that's why when it starts its operation in India, it is Hindustan Unilever, and when it has to start its business in Pakistan, it is Pakistan Unilever. When it is doing its business in Nepal, it is Nepal Unilever Limited, South Africa Unilever Limited, Australia Unilever Limited. So it takes the name of that particular country along with its name, and it do business. Another company in the same category is ITC. ITC, it's a abbreviated form, and its full form is Indian Tobacco Company. But Indian Tobacco Company is not an Indian company, only नाम में ही खाली इंडिया है. It is a subsidiary company of BTC, British Tobacco Company. So it also adopts the similar model, that when it is a question of entering into or operating in Indian market, it is ITC, and when it is operating in, say, South African market, it is South African STC, South African Tobacco Company, and in Australia it is ATC, Australian Tobacco Company, and Pakistan Tobacco Company. So these are some of the examples of some foreign companies entering into India. Some Indian companies like Tata Steel Europe. So Tata Steel, when it is operating in Europe is here somewhere. Okay. So when it is operating in Europe, so it is taking the same name Tata Steel, but along with its name, it is adding the word Europe. Tata Steel Europe or Tata Motors Europe. ONGC Videsh is another example. So when ONGC, it is a company, Indian company, which is in the business of exploring crude oil from earth. Okay, so ONGC is doing that, but when ONGC, the same ONGC is doing its operation, means it is exploring crude oil in other than India, then it is doing it in the name of ONGC Videsh. The name is clear, ONGC विदेश, मैंने विदेश में अदर देन इंडिया अगर कोई काम करेगा ONGC विदेश हो गया. Then business environment in developing countries. How the business environment in the developing countries are different than that of developed countries. In developing country, that is like India, which is still developing for the last 74 years, we are developing country, and I do not know till how long we will be still this developing country. And there are certain countries which are developed countries. Now, there are certain difference in the research and development environment in the developing and developed countries. Now, what is that difference? First difference is the research and development. In developed countries like European countries like America, Australia, they are the developed countries. And in developed countries, the companies which are there, they spend huge amount on the research and development. Okay, because like suppose we are an Indian company, and if you want some technology, we can buy it from some American companies. Suppose we want our computer, we can buy it from Microsoft. We want some technology, we can buy it from Google. But from whom Google will buy and from whom Microsoft will buy? Because Microsoft have to continuously keep on innovating and keep on investing much more and more money in research and development, and then only Microsoft can survive. Got the point? So that's why there is a huge research and development expenditure done by this the companies from the developed countries. One example, General Electric, GE, the company which is founded by Thomas Alva Edison, who has invented bulb. So its only research and development expenditure or research and development budget is more than the turnover of entire Reliance. Thus you can imagine the volume of research and development expenditure in case of GE. So GE is just an example. It can be General Motors, it can be Microsoft, it can be Google, it can be Walmart, or it can be Facebook, or any such companies. They spend huge money in research and development. Then when it comes to the question of control of government, in case of developed countries, the control of government on business is not that much, or it's not visible. But in case of developing country like India or maybe South Asian countries, the government have too much control over the businesses. This is an advertisement released with respect to the Idea Mobile, and this advertisement is banned. Why? Because Abhishek Bachchan is explaining to his friend why in India the population is so high, and the reason he has explained that India there is a frequent power cut, and when there is a power cut, people cannot watch TV, and when people cannot watch TV, so they do not have any other source of entertaining themselves, and that's why they they enter into some relationship with their wife, and ultimately they just go on producing more and more children. So what is the solution? Give them some entertainment on their mobile, so that they will just keep on entertaining themselves on mobile, and they will not indulge in some sexual activity with their wife or their girlfriends, and ultimately there will be control of population. So this was an advertisement shown by Idea Mobile, and ultimately this was banned by the government. So this is one example how government is interfering in the businesses, how government is controlling the business. This is another advertisement. I think you must have seen, many of you, that a married woman is going for her first wedding night, and all of a sudden come across a male person who is wearing some deo, and ultimately she got attracted to that person that she took off her wedding ring. So this is also one advertisement which was banned by the government. It is also one example that government is trying to control the environment in its business. Another example, Maggi was banned. You must have seen that Maggi was banned in India a few years back. So this is why, because the government have certain objection with Maggi, and that's why government tries to control the business of Maggi, and they have banned it. Another example, Coca-Cola in 1978. Many of you must not have heard of this story, that when in 1978, Morarji Desai was the Prime Minister of India, and in Morarji Desai government, George Fernandez was the Industry Minister, and he has asked Coca-Cola company that the ingredient that you are using to produce Coca-Cola soft drink, that you have to share it with the government. And Coca-Cola company said that they have some secret formula which they have the policy of not to disclose it to anyone, and that's why it is their corporate policy of not to disclose their secret formula or their how they produce this Coca-Cola soft drink, so they will not disclose it to anyone, not even to the government of any country. And since they have not disclosed their secret formula or how they produce Coca-Cola, the way of manufacturing that particular soft drink content, so ultimately Coca-Cola was asked to go out of India. There were two companies which were asked to go out of India. One was the Coca-Cola, which was banned, and second was the IBM, which was also asked to leave India in 1978. And that's why in my previous slide, when I told you that Pepsi entered into Indian market first, it was not that Coca-Cola did not get that information, but Coca-Cola has burned its hand in India in 1978, that when it has done entire setup, it has set up the entire production system in India, and all of a sudden they were asked to leave the Indian market. And that's why Coca-Cola took some time to take a decision whether to enter Indian market or not to enter Indian market. Got the point? So this is how the government tries to control the business in a developing country. But in case of developed country, this is allowed. In America, you just download some of the advertisement of some of the product in USA, and you will find that all these things are very much common in USA or in UK. In USA, it is very much common to use females showing them that they are sipping some hard drink, beer or some wine, and ultimately they are enjoying, because this is a part of this is not actually restricted in their culture. But in India, this is restricted, and it is not expected a female to drink wine or whiskey or beer openly. So that kind of advertisement will be restricted in India, but in USA there is no control of government, and you can do that. Multimedia advertisement is also related to our previous discussion, only that in multimedia advertisement, the government, they do not have any control over the advertisement. You can advertise whatever you want. Like in India, the advertisement "man will be man" क्या है? One drink, some drink, but or the bagpiper. So the advertisement is not of bagpiper, whiskey, or that the hard drink. The advertisement is always for the club soda. The word club soda is there. When it is pan bahar, that is pan masala, it is not about the tobacco, because advertising tobacco product, advertising alcohol is prohibited in India. So that's why they have to take the name of some pan masala or club soda, while keeping the brand intact, bagpiper, but they will write club soda, not bagpiper, some alcoholic brand. So for every advertisement, the big brother is watching. And who is the big brother? It's none other than the government. The government is watching, and if there is some objectionable content in that advertisement, definitely that will be banned by the government, or the government will have some obstacle, some observation in it, some okay. And that's why even the social media accounts are also controlled. Now in India, there is a law that social media accounts, they will also be subject to scrutiny, and if something objectionable is there, that will be banned. But now actually it is also, we cannot say that in developed country it is free, because you must have seen that Donald Trump's Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, everything is now permanently banned. So we cannot say that actually this is a phenomena happening only in the underdeveloped or developing countries, but this is a global phenomena. But the extent of interference of the government is very high in case of developing country than in that of developed country. This is also one advertisement issued by one jewelry making company using very decent actor, what is her name, Sunny Leone. In Navratri mein रमा नवरात्रि रमो परंतु प्रेम, enjoy Navratri but उसमें प्रेम भी करो. And what was the advertisement? That is actually here some, it is not displayed, but it was actually the PREM means you have to use some contraceptives while doing PREM. So it was an advertisement for contraceptives which was actually prohibited and banned by the government. Availability of labor in case of developing economy is very high. In developing economies are characterized by the fact that there is abundance of labor supply, whereas in case of developed economy, the labor is a scarce commodity, scarce product. So, and that's why you will find a product whichever is coming from a developed economy like USA, UK, Australia, Canada, they will be basically capital intensive product where the use of technology is more. But in case of the product which are coming from developing economies like India, China, Bangladesh, it is labor intensive product where the use of labor is more. In the first slide, when I told you that the table is manufactured in Bangladesh, because to manufacture table or to manufacture wooden products, labor is more required than technology. But when it comes the question of like the earphone that the lady is wearing or the Microsoft, the chip that computer that is used in computer, that is manufactured in USA because that is capital intensive product. So in India or in a developing economy, the labor is available in abundance, but in developed economy, labor is scarce. So one very popular phrase coined by Bharatendu Harishchandra, very popular poet in Hindi, "Teen bulave tera ave, nij nij bipta roi sunave." You just ask for 3, 13 will come, and they will just keep on crying, and they will narrate their entire story. What kind of a story? Bipata, that is the disaster story. And who will? क्यों सखी? साजन नहीं, graduate. Graduate मतलब दो 3 बुलाओ 13 आते हैं. Because there is abundance of availability of labor in India. This is also one picture which we have seen in Corona, that laborers migrating from the reverse migration of labor happening from cities to the villages. So because this is also symbolizing that there is abundance of labor available in developing economies. Monetary fluctuations in developing economy, monetary fluctuations is very common. Now what is monetary fluctuations? Like inflation. In developed economy like USA, the prices have achieved at their equilibrium. So whatever is the price of a coffee in USA now, it was the same price 10 years back. But in India, the price of this 1 cup of coffee is almost 3 to 4 times than that of 10 years back. And it is because there is a fluctuations in the economy, and this fluctuation is called inflation. Another fluctuation is with respect to interest rate. Another fluctuation is with respect to this currency. Like 10 years back, $1 was almost 50-55 rupees. Now $1 is 75 rupees. So because the value of our currency have gone down. Government interference. I already told you that government interfere in the businesses in India, whether it is a question of LPG cylinder or taking any permissions or using this 3G license or anything. Government will be interfering in developing economies, but the government's interference in case of developed economy is below than that of developing economy. Infrastructural facilities. There is a difference in the infrastructural facilities in the developed country and developing countries. In developed countries, infrastructural facilities are very strong. In developing economy, the infrastructural facilities, this is a very common scenario which you have seen in and around your locality, that infrastructural facilities are not up to the level, up to the mark. Heterogeneity of culture, this is another. Entire USA is almost one culture. Entire Australia is having single culture. Entire Canada, it is bigger than India, but we can say that there is only one culture. But in India, there is a heterogeneity of culture. In eastern part there is a different culture. Yesterday there was a Sankranti in North India. In South India might be it will be Pongal. In Assam it will be Bihu. In Punjab it will be Lohri or something else. So in different places the culture is different, the food habits are different, the fashion is different, the dressing sense is different. So there is heterogeneity of culture. So we cannot have a uniform idea, uniform policy for the entire country. And this is the feature which makes an Indian business environment different than that of a business environment in a global country, a different country. There are some basic issues in international business. One is the different regulation. If we are doing business in India, we are subject to only one regulation. But if we are doing business in more than one country, so we have to follow the regulation not only of India but a regulation of that country. For example, if we are doing business in India, we have to follow the regulations, the laws in India. But if we are doing business in, say, Saudi Arabia, so not only we have to comply with the regulations of government of India, but we have to comply with the regulations passed by the government of Saudi Arabia, that is the Sharia. So we have to do our product should be as per the Sharia compliant product, and that's why you will be finding on most of the product which is manufactured in India but they are exported in Middle East, you will find one very common term. You just go and check it on its wrapper, halal certified, because if it has to be exported in Middle East, then that product has to be halal certified only, then only it will be exported. There is a difference in currency. So in India the pricing will be obviously in rupee, but the same product, if it has to be sold in US market, then it has to be in dollar, and if it is in British market, then it has to be in pound. In other European market it has to be in euro, and if it is so and so forth. And this is the biggest challenge also, because an US company might have agreed to buy your product. Say for example, you are manufacturing something and the US company there is a contract between you and US company that it will be sold for $1 lakh. So you will be supplying that product to US company. Might be, suppose you have after 4 years you become a software engineer, you have open up your company and you have produced some software, and that software is sold to a US company, and the price that was agreed upon is $1 lakh. Okay. Now that US company will be paying you $1 lakh, but now $1 lakh when it will be converted into Indian currency, so it is $1 equal to 75 rupees. So $1 lakh when it will be converted into Indian currency, it will be 75 lakhs rupees. And just think of a situation when you have supplied, when the contract was entered, $1 was equal to 75 rupees, and when actually you have supplied your product, and after some time the payment was released, that US company will be paying $1 lakh only. So it has kept its promise, it has released $1 lakh into your account, and when that money was converted into India, then the value of money further decreased and $1 becomes a 77 rupees. So when you will be converting $1 lakh into Indian currency, you will be getting 77 lakhs rupees. 2 लाख रुपए का प्रॉफिट बिना कुछ किए, क्योंकि डॉलर का वैल्यू बढ़ गया. Reverse can also happen. When you have entered into a contract, $1 was equal to 75 rupees, and when actually the contract was materialized and the money was received in your account and you have converted it into Indian rupee, then suppose the value of money appreciates and $1 equal to 71 rupees. एंड आप जब $1 को जब कन्वर्ट करेंगे तो आपको 71 लाख मिलेगा. आपने 75 लाख सोच करके बेचा था, 71 हो गया. 4 लाख रुपए आपका ऐसे ही लॉस हो गया बिना कुछ किए. विदाउट एनी फॉल्ट ऑफ योर्स you have lost 4 lakh rupees. So this is one basic challenge in doing international business, other than this currency difference, other than your other normal business risk. Political difference. The example that I have given you, that Coca-Cola and IBM, it was an example of political difference only. That company from a foreign country should not be allowed to operate in India because of the political differences. Accounting difference. There are different methods of accounting. We used to follow one accounting principle. In USA, they used to follow another accounting principle. And if suppose, just take the example of Infosys. Infosys is an Indian company, and Infosys is also having its branch in USA. Now, when in USA Infosys will be doing business, it has to follow the accounting principles laid down in USA. Fine. Now, which accounting principle will be applicable in Infosys, on Infosys? Because in USA, different accounting principles. In India, it is a different accounting principles. So long as both the entities are working independently, there is no problem. But since both the businesses belongs to Infosys, so it has to be synchronized at some point of time. And here there will be a difference. For example, just simple example, in India, we follow the accounting year from 1st April to 31st of March. So our books of account, they start from 1st of April, and our account has to be closed on 31st of March every year. That is accounting year we used to follow. In USA, it is 1st January to 31st of December. Now, when a consolidation has to be done, how it will be done? Because on 31st of March, their accounts are not finalized, and if we consider previous 3-month old record, then it is old record, it is not up to date. So here will be the difference. Language will be different. In USA it is fine, but there are some countries which, like Russia, they do not speak English. So if we have business in Russia, so our accounts, our business, our products will be in India in Hindi or Indian languages or English. But in Russia, they do not speak English, and it has to be in the Russian language. So that here is another challenge. Culture is another challenge in case of international business. I already explained. This picture itself is sufficient to illustrate the importance of culture. This person, they have the culture of bowing as a mark of respect, and this lady is from a culture who believes in shaking hands as a mark of respect, and both of them are coming from the two different cultural background. Ultimately, both of them are confused why this is happening, because, and here we need to understand the cultural aspect of international business, because in international business we are not only operating in one domestic territory, but we are operating in several international territories, and the culture of different countries, different territories will be different, and we need to understand. Another example, like McDonald's, outside India it is known for its beef burgers. It is popular for its beef burgers. But when McDonald's have to enter into Indian market, then they did a complete market survey, and finally they came to the conclusion that in India, if they establish themselves as a chain of restaurants which supplies beef burger, then definitely this is not going to be accepted in Indian society because of our certain beliefs. And ultimately they change their marketing strategy and they position themselves in India as a supplier of vegetable burgers. So this is how this cultural differences comes into picture when it comes to the question of international business. So this is all from my side with respect to this international business. Thanks for your patience.